For the people that say, "Make America Great Again," when was it great? They're probably referring to the post-World War II boom, as here the economy was strong. American manufacturing was still strong. The ideal was the nuclear family. Of course, they don't take into account a great deal of social injustice to minorities and women. I googled the U.S. presidential slogans to find similar slogans. "Let's make America great again," Ronald Reagan, 1980. "Happy days are here again," 1932 slogan by Democratic presidential candidate Franklin D. Roosevelt. The point is, people look more fondly on the past than the present. We idolize the good and do not seem to remember the bad as much over time. As a side note, I laughed at "Make Your Wet Dreams Come True" Al Smith, referring to his stand in favor of repealing Prohibition. 1979 through 1982. I was getting so much pussy those 4 years. Dad, I doubt if all of America was at that time. To a time when Dad worked a steady job and Mom stayed home and made him lunch in one of those metal lunch pails. When people just laughed at drunk driving. When everyone went to church on Sunday and only prayed to Jesus. When my son got caught doing something bad, it was boys will be boys, and the real criminals either were black, or looked like the Bugs Bunny henchmen with 5 o'clock shadows. But don't worry about them. Andy Griffith will take care of that. When companies paid fair wages, not because lazy unions were tirelessly fighting for them, but because businesses were run by George Bailey, a fair-minded, small-town kind of business owner. When things were easy for people like us, and I didn't have to think too much about why, let alone feel any guilt about it. When problems like domestic violence were hushed up, but honesty, she probably had it coming. I hear they were atheists. When little kids never were abused, and Notre Dame was sure to win the national title again. How about them Yankees? Before I had to contemplate there may be real problems outside my bubble. Before my town became run down. Before people I don't know complained about things I don't understand, and before I was expected to ever have to change. Before America turned into living caricature of a burned-out, alcoholic former beauty pageant who believes she only needs to put on a happy face and act positive to recapture whatever former glory she once had. However vain, however materialistic, narcissistic, however fleeting, all that glittered was once gold. Summer of 1993 was pretty great. 90s were really the last big hurrah. My cousin's kids who just graduated are acting like they're attending their own funerals, like they have nothing to celebrate. Well, no shit, lady. Their choices are join the military or tens of thousands of dollars in student debt for an entry-level job. Geez, I'm job hunting today. I go online and I find a job that requires a physical therapy degree. It actually listed the start pay as $10.83. I'm working a call center and making more than that. No degree. I'd say the trades are where the good money is at without going into a ton of student loan debt. That's the beauty of the phrase. It's so abstract and vague that it only refers to whatever made-up time in the reader's or listener's head. It's exploiting the basic human tendency toward nostalgia, where we ignore the negative parts. To some it's the innocence of childhood. Others when they didn't have to consider that they might be insulting others. While others may look back to the prime of their youth. Basically, if you fall for such a simple phrase, you're a simple person. I love the poorly educated. Seeing as Trump copied that slogan from Reagan, I assume the 1980s. Try talking to gay people from that time. Especially LGBTPOC because they're disproportionately affected. That's a feature, not a bug. That's their goal. But if that was Reagan's slogan in the 1980s, then Reagan wasn't talking about the 1980s. It was when Pizza Hut had dine-in locations with arcades. They were making it great. Ooh. And the salad bar and the sodas served in those giant red plastic cups with the crushed ice. Before the immigrants got here, Any of them, monsieur, including those fucks who crossed the Bering Strait 10,000 years ago like they owned the place. For those of you wondering, I'm a raccoon. I think people misunderstand what the saying means. A lot of people assume it's demanding that America goes back to how it was at a certain point of history, as opposed to being great in an abstract sense where it's a prospering nation and the world leader, as it has been in the past. Think of it as less of a period of time and more of a mentality. Being the country that was producing skyscrapers, airplanes, cars, and much more while the rest of the world was playing catch-up just to reach that point. But the slogan is great aga, and so it was great at some point and then stopped. It can't really be about being a world leader when Trump has stepped away from America being leader of the free world. You mean the golden age of economic expansion, the one with high taxes on the rich and low cost of college and healthcare. Sounds great. The problem with slogans is that they are only useful when talking to the base. For the broader population, you actually have to use arguments and explain what you mean and/or what you are planning to do. With all these slogans from the right wing, you need to add "for me" at the end to reveal their true meaning. Make America great again for me. Return to greatness for me. Obama isn't working for me. Restore America now for me. Unleash the American dream for me. New possibilities for me. They don't give a shit about anything or anyone. It's a purely egotistical, fuck you, got mine, mindset. I am liberal, but I think this stems beyond conservatives to humans as a whole. Sure, there is definitely more people voting Democrat than conservative that are doing so in the interest of the greater good, but they are still the minority of the Democratic Party. People tend to vote for themselves. I suspect that if people actually voted in their own interests, then politics would be a great deal further to the left. Instead, people seem to vote in the interests of the very rich, either because they've been suckered by propaganda or because they like to think of themselves as inevitably going on to become millionaires. How many people who vote for brutal capitalist policies are actually capitalists in the sense that they have any meaningful amount of capital to invest? They don't need to have a specific time in mind to believe it. Our memories are selective and generally favor positive memories, and will even give our memories a positive spin. It helps keep us sane and not turn into nervous wrecks. We do the same looking at memories that aren't even ours, such as history, also privilege and racism. My above comment doesn't mean there aren't ignorant and shitty people. 1969 got a man to the moon and a great number. Asterisk ha 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 ha. Exclamation mark. Asterisk funny number. How old are you? Let's just pretend I'm up because I want to see where this goes. I'm 17. 1996 to 1999 was pretty great. The reason that slogan was much more attractive than Hillary's, who even remembers what that was, is it's a great story. It's better not to state a time when America was supposedly great. Better to let the suckers dream of some great, idyllic period that is about as real as a heavenly paradise or humanistic earthly paradise. It also reinforces the thought that the black man that held office hurt America in a single statement, considering they changed it to "keep America great." It's pretty clear that asterisk this is what they meant, asterisk. When they were young, everyone thinks things were better when they were younger. When you're older, you will think all these young punks are degenerate losers too. For me, the 70s. No HIV. The sexual revolution was underway. There were no STDs antibiotics couldn't cure. The drugs were everywhere and the music was top-notch. I was in college and partook of all of it. I was in the army and came home to gas shortages. My friend has an old Civic from the 70s. I was shocked that it included a lock for the gas cap door to stop people from siphoning gas out of cars. How much would that suck if someone did that to you while you stopped to get a bite while on a big road trip and then realize you're out of gas and may not hit a station before it's too late? Before it was colonized, They're usually referring to the post-World War II economic boom caused by the kidnapping of German scientists who actually had a clue how to do anything. It's not just about German engineers. It's about not being in ruins. America had a couple of decades where it could turn its wartime production into civilian production and just run the engine at full speed without any real competition. The American greatness started to diminish when Germany and Japan got back to their feet and could offer real competition. Now China is the big boogeyman. Greater than China is the big boogeyman. Doesn't a boogeyman have to be fake? There is nothing fake about them looming over Hong Kong or Taiwan, or a list of human rights violations longer than Trump's nose. That is not a static measurement. Think of all the new inventions that came out of the USA in those small few years. They drove economic recovery and consumerism. Their origin was kidnapped Germans. You were right though. It did occur in a backdrop of little competition, when a single earner could provide for their entire family, including healthcare, housing, and education. Currently it takes 2 full-time earners to do that, and that is if you are both lucky enough to have a good job. When Trump says make America great again, he's referring to when America was an economic powerhouse back in the 60s and 70s. What people like him, who are usually racist or sexist anyway, don't realize is that America wasn't great back then if you were a black person or a woman. Oh, they do realize. That's the other half of the appeal. Sort by controversial for best answers, by the way. On a question like this, a Trump supporter, like myself, makes 2 assumptions. Either the question is asked in bad faith to try and lure us out of lurking to gangbang us, or our good faith answers will be downvoted and essentially hidden anyway. Back in the day, and before you ask when that was, it was anytime. That's not now. People tend to romanticize how easy and correct it was when they were younger. Not because it actually was, but because of perception. It's hard for people like me who grew up being told, and firmly believing that America was one of, if not the greatest country in the world, to come to the realization that it's not as the tough pill to swallow. Before we exterminated all the natives and built malls everywhere, it was pretty great. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.